Yes, I think so. Oh, there it is. It's 8:00. All right. So your time is so precious. So let's get started. So good evening, ladies. The Peloton Moms Book Club is thrilled to welcome back for our fourth time together, Elin Hilderbrand, for a chat with the group about your newest and latest New York Times #1 bestseller, as well as the #1 on the USA Today list right now, the Hotel Nantucket. So this book is so fabulous. But before we begin, a big thank you to Jennifer Crowley for all you do for the group behind the scenes and on Instagram. Thanks to all the moms who are here joining us tonight and have already read the novel, have submitted your questions. You've already been recommending it to all your friends and raving about it. You attended the meet and greets with Elin and were representing the PMBC. So thank you. And for those who are not able to join live, thanks for tuning in after the fact and watching either on YouTube or on our new podcast that we're working on. Last but not least, of course, thank you to you, Elin. For those of you who are new and don't know, Elin is really the reason why we do these author chats and all of the author chats that have come after her. She really got the ball rolling for this group, and without her, we wouldn't really be where we are today. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So this is your 28th novel. That's an astounding number to me. It's been out less than 2 weeks, and truly, I think this is what everyone is going to be reading this summer. So for the most part, I think everybody on here has already read the book, but for those that maybe haven't, give us a brief synopsis of this story.
Okay, so brief synopsis is sort of self-explanatory. It's about a grand hotel in Nantucket. It's been, at the beginning of the novel, sort of left to ruin, falling down on itself. And a London billionaire named Xavier Darling swoops in, pays $30 million, renovates it in grand, but like not like very modern, cool, beachy fashion, and wants to make it the best hotel in the country. And he wants to impress two women, one of whom is an Instagram influencer named Shelly Carpenter, who has an Instagram account called Hotel Confidential by SC, Shelly Carpenter. And she goes anonymously and reviews hotels, and she gives out keys, 1 to 5 keys, and no one has ever gotten a 5-key review. Xavier decides they're going to be the only hotel that gets a 5-key review. He hires a woman named Lisbeth Keaton. She's his general manager. Lisbeth has just had her heart brutally broken by her boyfriend. She's looking for a second act. And so she takes over hiring the staff, and into the summer they go. Little do we know, like, everybody on the staff has issues, and then the guests that check in have issues. And on top of all this, there's a ghost at the hotel who is a 19-year-old chambermaid who was killed in a fire in 1922, 100 years earlier. She wants her murder acknowledged, and so she's going to create all kinds of mischief until that happens.
Whew, that's a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
So with all those amazing characters that you just mentioned, how do you come up with their names? That was what one of the moms needed to know immediately. So what comes first? The names, the characters, the storylines for them.
The way I just, like, when you're going into a novel, you don't know the characters. They have to be learned. It's kind of like moving in with new roommates. Some of us have taken our kids to college, right? And we're the mom, we're there day one, we meet the roommate, we're like, oh, he looks so nice. But then it's, a lot of times, sometimes everything's fine. Sometimes somewhere, couple weeks in, couple months in, middle of the semester, middle of the year, like, things happen. Like, you learn this other person day by day, week by week, month by month. And that is how I learn my characters. Like, what are they like? Who are they? And you learn them only by writing them. They certainly don't come to you whole. So I started out just like you guys did in the interviews. Okay, these people sit down, they're interviewing. Grace has sort of a sixth sense about some of these people. But Lisbeth, of course, doesn't. So she's, hiring them without really knowing their backstory. So it was a lot of fun, but I learned the characters, and their names some of them came to me organically, like Alessandra and Edie sort of came to me, and Zeke. And then sometimes I'm just searching for names. One of the great things, my son graduated from college in May, and they had a program. So he went to the University of South Carolina. I don't know, something like 4,000 kids graduated. So I had a program with all these names in it, and I keep it by my workstation. So I'm like, okay, if I need a name, I just go into the program and pick one.
That's awesome.
Yeah, totally.
And you can mosh them together.
Yeah, exactly. You take one first name, one last name, put them together.
Yeah, and before we dive in, so then one of the moms also asked, I think she was a relatively new reader for you, but she got the sense that there were a lot of characters that maybe had appeared in your other novels in this book. Do you know off the top of your head how many references you made to characters from other books in here?
Not really. Fast Eddie appears in a couple books. The Chief appears ever so briefly in this. He's in a bunch of my books. Jordan Randolph appears in Summerland. I have, who else is it? Blonde Sharon from The Rumor is in this book. Anytime I needed somebody and I already had someone that was sort of doing the same things that had been done before, I would pull them in. Mario Subiaco from the Blue Bistro. He's a main character in this novel. I see somebody asked about Adrian and Thatcher, who were my main love couple from the Blue Bistro. I did not want to include them in this book because they could probably have their own novel separately. I just wanted to use the sort of one of the minor characters who was the pastry chef in the Blue Bistro, and then he gets the star turn in this book. But my real goal was that you would be able to read it and not, if you knew who they were, you were so excited. But if you didn't know who they were, it wasn't distracting.
Well, and you do that with all of your books. I think you do such a great job of making it so if it was their first book, they weren't lost. But if it was not their first book, they were like, oh, I remember them. So it's so fantastic. Okay, so mamas, you may know that my day job is in the wine industry. So cheers to rosé. And I had such a special fondness for your genius idea at the deck of the rosé fountain.
Yeah.
And I love how, because I've been to Nantucket several times, I love how you subtly weave in some of the extravagances that you can kind of find on the island. What is like your favorite kind of over the top thing that you like to indulge in every once in a while?
Well, one of the
treat
funny
yourself.
Yeah. So one of my favorite, I have a couple like favorite things that I like to do. So Crew is a restaurant down at the very end of the dock. It's on the water. Every once in a while, they'll have like they're doing it every week now, like a party with a DJ, and there's like tons of champagne and very bad behavior, just people dancing and getting really drunk. People sometimes dive into the water. That's always fun. I do that like once a year. And then I love to go to the Chicken Box. I do that 2 or 3 times this summer, which is like the dive bar, and they have live music. I love to do that. I love to go to the Galley for lunch. The Galley is divine. It's like something out of France or Italy. I mean, it's on the beach. It has glorious views of the water. It's very elegant. It is just see and be seen. And I love to do that at least once a summer.
Yeah. Okay. That's perfect. Awesome. And I loved how you incorporated the Blue Book. Like It was part of the hotel, but a genius, because I know people have been asking for kind of a guidebook to Nantucket forever from you. So it was just absolutely genius how you made it part of the story.
Yeah, I started with it as part of the story. So I thought, they're going to hand out this recommendation guide. And then at some point I thought I should write my own Blue Book at the end of the novel, because it's self-preservation. I get asked all the time, where should we come stay? What should we do? Where should we eat? Do you have any recommendations? So now everybody has from soup to nuts on Nantucket, the festivals, the beaches, the shopping, the museums, the historical stuff, like everything is in the Blue Book. And so you can just buy the Hotel Nantucket, get the Blue Book with it, and then plan your trip.
Yeah, exactly. Even I think you even said where to go to the grocery store.
Yeah, totally. Everything you need. Hair salon, exercising. Yeah, it's all there.
Awesome. All right. So another one before we dive in deep into the book. Eddie and Alessandra are your concierge, and they would they really be able to find reservations and golf tee times and salon appointments last minute, day after day? I know how challenging that would be. Is that realistic? Do you think that's happening?
No. Oh God, no.
Yeah.
No. I mean, you
Okay.
can't. And that's what I say. That's what I say in the. I mean, the hotel. It really depends. The hotel concierge is probably your best bet, but as like a private citizen, like I can't get tea times. There was this whole scandal on Nantucket last summer about the tea times because there was like a list of preferred. It's a public course. There's one public course, and there was a list of preferred people. I don't know if they paid money or what they did. But there was a list of preferred people getting tea times again and again and again, and everybody else was having this horrible time. And it was in the newspaper, and it was this whole brouhaha. So I kind of poke at that a little bit because I thought it was so Nantucket. The salons with COVID, etc., really, really hard to get appointments. Everything is so crowded on Nantucket, or has been in the last year, like 21 certainly, and it's looking that way for 22. That you really have to plan ahead, and you have to make your dinner reservations early, and you have to make your salon appointments, and anything that you want to do, you need to plan in advance. It's annoying.
And it's all done. I bet you have it all done.
I try. Yeah, I'm trying.
All right, so now we're diving into the book. So the element of a ghost story is super fun, and it was in Golden Girl, and now it's in Hotel Nantucket. So what has led you towards a kind of supernatural element in the recent plot lines?
So I was actually hesitant to use the ghost for that exact reason. I didn't want to, I guess Vivi's more of like an angel. She's up above, and Grace is more of a ghost. She's like tethered to the ground. But I didn't want to use it again. And yet at the same time, there's something so perfect about a hotel, and I needed an omniscient narrator. I wanted somebody who could see into the rooms. And I thought it's going to be a ghost. I've never written a ghost story before. If you'd asked me 18 months ago, will you ever write a ghost story? I'd be like, absolutely not my thing. But then I thought, you know what, it would be, this is the way I really feel like I need her to sort of watch everybody, manipulate everybody, and sort of create trouble. And it really worked. It's a miracle because I wasn't sure I could pull it off. I wasn't.
Well, you did. And everybody loves the ghost, and Grace was their favorite character. A lot of people were just saying. So obviously you pulled it off. It was fantastic. So you had multiple points of view, and kind of different chapters from different points of view and storylines. Did you outline all those storylines ahead of time before you started in the notebooks? And for those of you that don't know, she literally handwrites her books in notebooks and then types them.
I do.
Or did you just let it flow?
I just let it flow. So I started with Elizabeth, or the We of Nantucket, which is one of my favorite points of view. Then I moved into Elizabeth, and this is all after much revision. So I wrote Grace. I actually wrote a little bit of a spoiler here, but I wrote like one of the very first scenes I ever wrote in this book was the scene at the end with Chad, where you find out what Chad did that was so wrong. I had it in the beginning, and I thought, I'm going to say what happened to him, and then I'm going to have him go to Nantucket. And then at some point I realized, oh no, this should be a reveal. Like what happened to Chad back in Pennsylvania should be a reveal at the end of the book. But that was one of the first scenes I wrote where what happens. And so, yeah, I mean, it's really, really hard to write a novel like this with so much going on and have it like give everybody equal weight or the correct amount of weight. And then, what is the scene going to be? There's a scene in the middle of the book with Alessandra. And initially, as Alessandra didn't have a point of view. And then I thought, I think I have to give her a point of view. So I went in and I gave her a point of view. And the scene in the middle where her friend from high school shows up was the last scene I wrote in the book. I wanted Alessandra to have a little bit more depth. And so I wrote that scene where her friend Duffy from high school checks into the hotel. So it's just weird. It's not really linear, but I write it start to finish, but then there's a lot of moving around and then a lot of going back in. And that's part of the revising process. It's so complicated. I can't even explain it to you, but you get it because you've read the novel.
Yeah, I do. And you talked a little bit about Shelley Carpenter, and let's try not to give any spoilers exactly, but talk about the role that you wanted that to play in terms of, you talked about already, she's an Instagrammer and a reviewer of hotels, and she gives out her keys, but nobody knows who she is. But more than that, she played a role, I think, for the other characters of getting them to, without them even knowing her or who it was, but to elevate their game, if you will. So talk about that and that the importance of
Right.
Shelley and for all the other
Right.
characters.
So one of the things, so because Xavier so desperately wants the fifth key, that gave me it gave everybody a lot of motivation, but also me, right? So it was like, I knew that the decor was going to be gorgeous, and I knew that he was going to get like this great restaurant which is the Blue Bar, which is what Mario's running in the hotel. And I knew that he was one of the first things I thought of was that he was going to give out these $1,000 bonuses every week, because he wants to promote a sense of competition for his staff. Not really so much competition. He wants them to excel, and he wants them to be working towards something. So he offers the $1,000 bonuses, which really causes all this, these problems, and somebody's sort of cheating at the game, and other people are getting angry and bent out of shape. And so it was really fun to be able to have, like, they're striving for something, like, are they going to get it? Are they going to get it? Are they going to get the fifth key? And then it was enormously satisfying for me to, like, throw out, who is it? Red herrings. Is it this person? Is it that person? I didn't even know who it was until about 2/3 of the way through the book. And then I was like, oh, of course.
And we may come back to that, because I do have a question on that, but I don't want to go into spoilers yet, because I don't want anybody to have to mute yet. So come back to that at the end. So let's talk about why was Xavier, we talked about Xavier gave out bonuses for everybody to try and strive to be the best of the best, and Alessandra kept winning them. But then when he finally came to visit the hotel, he was really kind of dismissive of her and really didn't recognize her at all. What was the thought process there, or why was that?
Well, initially I thought, okay, I want Alessandra actually to have sort of done her research and sort of to have gone to the Hotel Nantucket because she wanted to seduce Xavier. Then I changed my mind. My editor and I sort of went back and forth on that and decided that it would be better if Alessandra was really just in it to scam people. Mm-hmm. And that Xavier would be, and then when she sees Xavier, she's like, oh, here's one more, like, this would be like a really big coup for me. And I think he was just sort of, impressed by her good reviews and was being nice. And then of course when he shows up, he has no interest in her because he has interest in someone else, which we can't really talk about. Yeah.
Right. No, we can't, but that went through me for a loop. I didn't see that one coming. So where do you think Wanda and Louis will be in 15 years?
So, I mean, Wanda and Louis were challenged. It's always hard to rate kids correctly. It's a little bit easier when you have kids that age, which I no longer do. And especially because, like, the 6 and 7-year-olds that I had were in, like, the mid-aughts, before, technology, etc. I mean, we had the internet and we had cell phones, but it wasn't the same like it is now. And so I wanted Wanda and Louis to be a little bit of a throwback. Wanda's reading her Nancy Drew books and doing her investigative reporting, sort of like Harriet the Spy. And Louis is, of course, a chess champion. And I wanted them to be very exceptional, precocious children who were, like, interested in an adult world. And so where are they in 15 years? I mean, I think obviously Wanda is working for the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, and Louis is like the Queen's Gambit. He's like a precocious chess person.
But it's amazing how important they were to that first season of the hotel. And gosh, without them, would they have made, like, the impact that they had? It's crazy.
Huge
so
impact.
fun.
Huge impact.
So fun. So what do you think Duffy's side of the story is with Alessandra? And can we talk about that without spoilers? Yeah, I guess we can.
Right.
A little bit.
Duffy shows up, Duffy's parents. I mean, you know, Alessandra has a complicated history with Duffy's parents. I feel like Duffy, I don't know, she was kind of annoying, and I think she's just that person from high school. You know, Alessandra felt really bent out of shape because Alessandra was smarter in high school and sort of more street smarter, more common sense, and just smarter. And yet Duffy is the one who shows up with the rich husband and the cute baby, and seems to sort of, you know, she's staying at the hotel and Alessandra's working at the hotel. And but I think Duffy was probably exhausted, and you know, she had too much to drink, and she and her husband had a fight, and things went badly, and Alessandra was like, you know what, it just goes to show you just really don't know what's going on in anybody else's life, no matter how it looks.
Well said. Well said. So love triangle, I guess, between Elizabeth and Mario and JJ, and what a great way to work back in Mario into the book. And did you know that he was going to be the love interest? Is that why you worked him back in? Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to go back and read the Blue Bistro again. I'm like, is he too old? I wasn't sure. It was fine. And
Yeah.
I wanted him to have like a star turn, which he does. And I wanted there to be a love. One of the reasons why the Blue Bistro works so well is that there is that great love triangle. It's Thatcher, Adrian, and Fiona. And that is why that book works. And I love a love triangle. And I thought, okay, I want to have one here as well. And JJ does Lisbeth wrong at the beginning. And then at some point in the middle of the book, I mean, he really tries to make amends. And I almost considered, like, do they get back together? I mean, I don't want to give anything away, but it's always fun to have a love triangle like that for everybody.
Yeah. Yes. And the scene at the proprietor was so good. So good. And for those of you that don't know, Nantucket in the cobblestones, that's really all the main streets are. And the scene where you referenced she's wearing her heels or her stilettos, and you see it all the time.
Yeah, she's on the sidewalk. She's like, the sidewalks are brick. The sidewalks are brick, and the streets are cobblestones. It's very shoe challenging.
Yes. Just wear flip-flops. Just wear Mystique sandals, flip-flops, you're good.
Yes.
No need for stilettos. But you see it all the time. People are gonna break their legs. Okay, so everybody wants to know, and we actually, my friend Robin and I played around this past week talking about it, but what is in the Heartbreaker cocktail? And because we wanted to maybe have everybody be drinking one tonight for you, but do you really know what's in a Heartbreaker? And then everybody also again wants to know any plans to make a cookbook or publish the recipes that you talk about in the book.
Yeah, I don't have a recipe for the Heartbreaker, although I've seen people on the internet on Instagram making the Heartbreaker, and I don't have the book in front of me, so I can't even remember what's in it. I feel like it's fresh strawberries, there's ginger in there, there's blood orange juice, and then is it vodka and champagne? I mean, it sounds absolutely delicious. You have to have the really good fruit juicer. But I mean, it sounds absolutely delicious. And
so you just invented it. It wasn't based on. I just
invented it, but I didn't make a recipe. As for the cookbook, everybody who watches my cringe cooking on my Instagram, I use other people's recipes. They're like, oh, we should do a cringe cooking cookbook. I use other people's recipes, and it's challenging. Like, you can't write a cookbook with other people's recipes. So what might happen is there might be a book or a booklet, I don't know, that has the recipe, like the food that's in each of the books, like sort of like an Elin Hilderbrand novel food guide, so that you, with recipes, maybe, I don't know. That is an after retirement project.
No. Yes. All right. So someone just asked in the comments, Why? I can't even say this because you deserve to retire. But why do you feel like it's getting to be about the right time to retire? But full disclosure, you have two more books, right? Two.
Yeah. So actually I have a bunch more books coming out. So I have a
Oh,
book of stories. One of the things that's happening this year in October, on the 4th of October, I have a novel, not a novel. I have a book of stories called Endless Summer coming out. What is an endless summer? I'm going to tell you. Everything, every e-short, every extra chapter, every bonus chapter that like Barnes and Noble got, that Target got, that you could only get if you bought special editions, all of those are going to be an endless summer. I also have a never before seen extra chapter for Golden Girl, extra chapter for The Perfect Couple, and I wrote a 75,000 word novella, which is Summer of 89, which follows Summer of 69 and Summer of 79. So we get to see the same family 20 years after Summer of 69, 10 years after Summer of 79. In the 80s, it is so good. I would not say that unless I truly believed it. This novella is fantastic. And it's, if you lived in the 80s at all, it has it has, just like in the other two, the chapter titles are songs from the 80s, and you will really like it. And so that comes out October 4th. And then I have a book coming out next June. And then I have a book coming out in June of 24. And then my daughter and I are writing a novel that is about boarding school, because my daughter went to boarding school this year and it was so filled with drama that I said to her, we should write a novel about this. And she agreed. So that's going to happen. And then when I go into full on retirement, which I'm doing because I really am running out of ideas for Nantucket novels. I mean, I will have written 30 at that point. That's a lot of books for an island that's 4 miles wide and 13 miles long. And I feel like I've covered almost all the ground and all the topics, and I don't want to repeat myself, and I don't want the quality of the books to go down. And so I'm just calling it a retirement for that business plan, which is one Nantucket summer book per year, will end in 2024.
Hey, somebody wants to know, but are there plans for more U.S. Virgin Island books?
At this point, not really. I am desperately trying to place the Paradise series with television. I have 6 projects in development in Hollywood. One has been given a green light, but I can't tell you yet. Just watch me on Instagram because it's going to be announced soon. But I can't tell you. But I did get one green light for a 6-episode prestige miniseries, and I can't tell you which book, and I can't tell you where it's going to be, but you will be very excited when I am allowed to announce it. And then I have the Hotel Nantucket was optioned by Warner Brothers Television, and they're hoping to get a really good showrunner and a good writer and get that up and running. And Summer of 69 is in development, and 28 Summers is in development. And so hopefully this will all start to happen right at the same time that I retire, so that you'll feel like, although there are no more books, that we'll be able to like go to our laptop and hopefully watch the shows or go to the movies.
Well, can I just say, of all, we talk to authors obviously now all the time, and everybody talks about the challenges and the process of getting through to adaptation and the length of time. And so many people just raise their hand and say, I don't even know. Who knows? If it happens, I'll believe it when I see it. But I feel like this is the 4th time we've talked, and we've been saying this for 4 times now. But if anybody deserves to have something make it, it's you. Like
Thank you.
no one works harder than you, and you absolutely deserve it. And there's this book screams movie. It just screams movie.
I know.
What more could you want? And the cast that you can have with all these characters.
I know.
It's fantastic. So
I do think, I mean, that book more than any, I mean, I do have one green light. Something is going to get made, and I should be able to announce it in July, and that is going to happen for sure. But the Hotel Nantucket, I agree with you. Of all the books, of all the projects, and there are some good ones, of course, that are in development. The Hotel Nantucket should be, I think it should be a series like the Love Boat, Jen. Remember the Love Boat? Like,
yes.
it should be like people check in, people check out, and every week or whatever, every season, it's like a new thing, but we have the cast, we love them. We want to keep going back every summer, new stuff's going on. We get to see Chad become the general manager. I don't know, or the assistant manager. I just love like thinking about the Hotel Nantucket as a series.
Okay, well, that's actually, we're bouncing around a little bit for my questions, but I mean, the way this book ends, there is a sequel coming, right? There is.
Oh,
That's
oh
there
no.
has to
Never,
be.
never say never. Never say never. It won't be one of the 2 books that I'm writing, but I mean, really what
Oh,
I
really?
think
I really thought it was.
that there will be a sequel to the Hotel Nantucket.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Oh,
I
all
hadn't
right.
even I hadn't even given that any thought. Maybe.
Oh, yes, please. Okay.
Everybody likes it. I can see everybody likes it.
Yeah, I mean, I lit like, let me go back. Like the last, I was like, oh, okay, that's like, it's a hint that there's a book, another book coming. This She's going to go out with the Hotel Nantucket. Okay, so we talked about film and TV adaptation. So everybody, if you're not following Elin on Instagram, you should be, because it's a trip to watch her life, and her cringe cooking is amazing. So watch for her tips, or her whatever she can announce about the film and TV.
Yeah. Same.
She normally, but we can ask. Somebody wanted to know, do you envision anybody like for your cast of Hotel Nantucket? I know you normally say no.
I don't know. People were saying my producers were like, they're looking for Lisbeth, I believe, first, and they were looking at Katherine Heigl or Jennifer Gardner. Those were the names that they were throwing around. I would be interested to hear what other people thought for casting. I don't know.
I kind of thought of Olivia Wilde, but maybe that's just because she's
Oh,
in the news right now a lot with Harry. I don't know.
yeah. It'll be good. It'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah. So many fun people to cast. All right. Let me just, Emily Blunt. That's a good one. Yeah. That's a really good one. Let me just check. Somebody just, okay. Oh gosh. What Lisa wants to know, what is your most favorite and least favorite of your books? That's probably like saying what's your least favorite child. I don't know that you can answer that, but maybe where have you evolved, and what book would you recommend to someone who has never read one of yours?
Okay, so the book that I would recommend if you've never read one is either the Blue Bistro, which is everybody's favorite. Is the Blue Bistro my favorite? It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I wrote it so long ago though. Is it still relevant? I think probably it is relevant. It is really, so the thing that the Blue Bistro does, which I tried to do in the Hotel Nantucket, and I thought, can I do this again? Is the Blue Bistro creates a universe where everything is happening at the restaurant and you feel like you're working there and you're part of, like, there are affairs going on and, you know, the staff is sleeping together. And there's, of course, the love triangle with the chef. And then there's, you know, the pastry chef, which is Mario. And then there are the regular customers that come in. And then there's like this great, like in the middle of the summer, like this famous actress comes in and that causes all this drama. I mean, it is so much fun. And I wanted to create a world like that with the hotel. So the Blue Bistro is definitely what I would recommend. The Perfect Couple, very user-friendly. Perfect Couple is a murder. It's a fancy wedding. The maid of honor is found floating in the harbor the morning of the wedding. And then the police come and they investigate. And of course, they unravel everybody's secrets at the wedding.
And there's a lot.
Yeah. One of my favorites that maybe some of you haven't read is Summerland, which is set at Nantucket High School. It's basically about these 4 high school kids at graduation. They're in a Jeep, they crash. The driver dies. Her twin brother is paralyzed and in a coma. And then the other 2 kids are fine. Their parents are all friends. And so then when you're unraveling that, like, you're thinking about like what's happening like between this group of parents. And so it's a little bit darker because you do have a dead teenager and a teenager who is in a coma, but it's really a good book. And it has like that great sort of dynamic where you have the adults and then the teenagers, which I love.
Yes, people are raving about, actually somebody just wrote that I don't know who it is because they're a Zoom user, but they read Summerland every year. Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. And then
that's a good endorsement.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody is curious about the connection to cystic fibrosis. Is that referencing Blue Bistro? No.
Yeah. So yeah. And didn't I have it in something else? I think I had it in 28 Summers as well. So it's a very long story that I don't think I have time for, but there was a person in my life who had cystic fibrosis that I met when I was in my mid-20s, and she has since passed away, but I learned a lot about the disease and had a very, very sort of poignant story with her. And so that is why I use that particular disease. I've used it in 2 books. I used it in 28 Summers, but I used it first in the Blue Bistro.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So as you're winding down, we're not saying goodbye and you're not done yet. You still have time. But have you given any thought to what mark you want to leave on the literary world? Like when people think about Elin Hilderbrand, what did you do for the literary world?
Well, I mean, did I do anything? I feel like,
yes.
On the one hand, I wrote beach novels, but what I try to do every day is write a better beach novel and write the best beach novels that are out there, which is not things that you sort of read and then can't remember the next day, but things that resonate with you, that have characters that you remember, that have people that you'd like to see again in other books, where you feel like you've been. And this is one of the things that the readers really said to me when I was on tour the past 2 weeks, is either, one of 3 things: either I'm dying now to go to Nantucket, or I went to Nantucket and I loved it, or I'm planning on going to Nantucket, or I'll never get to Nantucket and I feel like I've been there. And that is probably it. And it's such a tiny place, but I tried to bring Nantucket to the world. And the more important thing, I think, is the mental and psychological escape that I've been able to provide people. And of course, I have a lot of readers who are very privileged, and who get their farm fresh tomatoes and their beach sticker and the Elin Hilderbrand book, right? And that's every summer for them. But I have a lot of readers who, are taking care of an elderly parent, or are sitting in the chemo chair, or have children with disabilities. And my books give them a way to just check out for a little while. And that's what's important ultimately for me, is, the really important work I'm doing is allowing people to escape the news. And, I don't have to, it's kind of like the bike, right? You get on the bike because you want to power it out and forget what's going on in your daily life. And so in that way, I am now saying Elin Hilderbrand novels are like your Peloton. They let you escape for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if you were reading the comments, but what I was going to say is you've gotten so many more people, I think, reading again, which is just incredible. And, once they read one, then they've got 27 more to read. But the other thing that I think that you do is you lift so many other fellow authors up and you empower them and you champion their books. And so I think you don't just bring your readers along to read your stuff, you bring them along to read other people's. And so I think that that's one of the amazing things that you've done. You're constantly recommending other people's books and posting about them. And, you're now you're doing your literati project, and you've certainly helped us here. So that's what I think the mark is that you're going to have left, is all the authors that you've touched besides yourself.
Yeah. And that will continue. I mean, that's the nice thing about, I'm not going anywhere. So that will continue. I was a reader first, and all writers were, or are. I read constantly. I read every single day. I have a whole set of stress worries about my reading life because, I'm a slow reader, and I have, I wish you could see my bedside table. It is 2 stacks, and I'm just and my Peloton faces my book, my stack of books, and I'm riding on the bike and I'm looking at the stacks and I'm like, what am I going to read? What am I going to read when I finish? But I love, if I read a good book, it makes my life better. And I want to talk about it. And I want to tell you, because we can all read a lot of books. We don't have to read only Elin books. That was ridiculous. So we can all read a lot of books. And I like to celebrate people who are doing it really well.
Yeah. So what a perfect segue. What are you reading and recommending me right now?
Okay. Thank you for asking. So I have my pile here. So the first book, I'm going to hold up a book. I don't want you guys to freak out, but because it literally has the worst cover in all of publishing, but I loved it. Okay. Some of you have maybe read it. It's Vladimir by Julia May Jonas. Look at this. This cover looks like it's a bodice ripper, right? Look at this cover. It's just so terrifying. This book is so good. It's about, I'm going to put it down now. It's about a professor at a small liberal arts college woman whose husband is being, I don't know, brought up on charges of sexual harassment by a bunch of women at the college over the years. And there's a new professor in the English department, and it's, you guessed it, Vladimir, and he's younger. And our woman professor and Vladimir start this friendship, and things go very crazy. But it is so beautifully written. It is so smart. It is so not this cover. I loved this book. If you guys read this book, loved it. Someone said they loved it. It's so good. Okay. They're bringing it out in paperback with a different cover. I picked it for Literati for October. So maybe you wait and get it with Literati then, or wait until it comes out in January with a different cover. So good. Okay. That's Vladimir. The next one I'm going to give you is, The Swimmers by Julia Tsuka. So good. Very thin. So the nice thing about this book is you feel very accomplished because you can read it in literally 2 days. It's about a bunch of swimmers, and there's a crack at the bottom of their pool. And the first part of the book is about how upset they are about the crack in the pool, and the pool gets closed. They're all upset. And then the second half of the book, they follow one of the swimmers home and get into her personal life. Fabulous. Okay. The Caretakers by Amanda Bester Siegel. This is set in a suburb of Paris, and it's about American foreign and other foreign au pairs who live in Paris and who work for a series of French families in this suburb right outside of Paris. So there's a lot of Parisian stuff, a lot of good au pair stuff, a lot of good, just think about that premise, like a bunch of foreign au pairs living in Paris working for these French families. It is very, very good. Highly recommended. Saint Ivo by Joanna Hershon. Really beautifully written. It's about a couple, and their daughter they have an estranged daughter. So they do not have a relationship with the daughter, but she's sort of always present. And something violent happens to them at the beginning of the book, and then they are on their way. It's Labor Day weekend. They're in the city at the start of the book. Something happens, and then they get in their car and they go upstate to visit friends who are a couple, and all this drama happens. It's very, very good, excellent, and beautifully written. Saint Ivo. And then the last book I'm recommending is The Cave Dwellers by Christina McDowell. This is set in Washington, D.C. It is basically, it's not political, but it's about the very wealthy, old money families in Washington, and how they interact as somebody gets killed. A family gets killed very violently, and then it's about everything that happens thereafter. But it's fascinating inside look at Washington. Not really political. So I don't want you to be like, I don't want to read a political book. It's not political. It's more about like how Washington came to be, and about the cemeteries where like the leaders are buried, and the bridges, and like the clubs. It is fascinating, and very well written, and very smart, and very witty, and very snappy. So there we have it.
I read that at your recommendation. I just finished it like last week, and I loved it. And I'm not trying to avoid politics right now, so I was a little skeptical, but yeah, there's not really any politics involved, I would say. And it's really the children of that old money and power, and kind of a lot of it is set from their perspective as well, which is interesting. And when I say children, they're teenagers. So that's really interesting as well. So yeah, I loved that book. I would recommend that as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. We are right on time, 8:44. Huge thank you to everyone who joined tonight. There were so many on there, and thank you. At some point, Ellen, take a second and read all the comments. Everybody loved the book, loved everything that you've done for the literary and writing. And so just want to say thank you, get some rest, have a wonderful 4th of July on Nantucket. Can't wait to see what you're cooking for the weekend, and have a wonderful summer, get some rest, and happy writing. And we will see you soon. And thank you for all you do for us.
Thank you for all
have
you
a good night.
Jens and Molly. Thank you so much, guys. See you on the leaderboard.
Okay, bye.